Another topic, if you're happy for me to continue.
Yes, please continue.
Thank you. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Budget Office gave evidence about the deterioration between PEFO, the pre-election economic and fiscal outlook, and MyEFO, the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook. How does the government account for the differences between PEFO and MyEFO in terms of the budget deficits?
Senator Richard Windier, Deputy Secretary, Budget Group. I think am I right in thinking that the evidence you're referring to related to the differences over the medium term?
Correct.
In that case, Senator, the questions related to how the medium term is forecast are really questions that is owned by Treasury and are really questions for Treasury rather than questions Finance can answer.
Finance is not responsible for contributing to those forecasts in any way?
Senator, the medium-term forecasts are modelled by and Treasury.
So Finance has no input into, for example, the expenditure side of those forecasts?
Senator, no, it's done by Treasury.
No, so Finance provides no data, no input, not consulted. This is solely Treasury.
On the medium-term outlook, yes. On the forward estimates, knock yourself out.
Okay, I just want to be really clear.
Well, that was like the sixth time.
Yeah, well, let's be absolutely sure, because sometimes it does take follow-up questions. So Finance has no insight into why the budget bottom line has deteriorated by $57 billion over 7 years.
Senator, we don't... they're questions you'd have to put to Treasury to understand what goes into the model, their modelling, and therefore what is presented.
Right. So there are there's no contribution to that deterioration or those changes that have been a result of policy decisions that Finance has any visibility of.
Senator, as I say, I can't because we are not responsible for them and don't know what goes into them. I can't offer any commentary on what might or might not have caused them to move.
Over the medium term.
Yeah.
Certainly there are elements which I think the Treasurer has already alluded to, so the public hospital agreement.
Okay.
And we can go into this more tomorrow, but just in terms of, assisting, because the impact over the medium term is a matter that Treasury is only in a position to answer. Some of the provision that we've made, and we did make a provision for hospitals, also a provision for Henderson Defence Precinct forms part of that. Also provision for the Thriving Kids and foundational supports, which is also a part of the NDIS and some of the agreements at National Cabinet. So they would be probably the big moving pieces.
Right. So it's not purely just forecasts, it is policy decisions taken by government which has contributed to the change between PEFO and MyEFO.
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
So it's not just a forecasting change. Policy decisions made between PEFO and MyEFO are reflected in those numbers.
I would just have to check on some of that in terms of when decisions were made.
Sure, but you've just given me 3 reasons that have contributed to the different numbers between...
Yeah, I think we're just...
I would just have to check because some of the decision timing matters there.
Well, are you saying because it might have happened after MyEFO or it might have happened before PEFO?
I just have to check, Senator Patterson. I just want to check, that's all.
I'm really confused. Help me understand, because you were offering some explanations for the difference between PEFO and MyEFO, and you listed 3 items of expenditure: Henderson Defence Precinct, the Health and Hospitals Agreement, Thriving Kids and Foundational Supports. The only way they could have contributed to the difference between those numbers is if they occurred between PEFO and MyEFO.
I just want to be very clear.
That would be helpful if you could.
Yeah.
Can you be?
Well, look, I think it's better it's dealt with in Treasury when they can account for the medium-term impacts. I was just trying to be helpful in saying that there are some things that would impact on those medium-term outlooks.
Yes, and I don't want to discourage you from being helpful in the future, so I don't want to press this too much, but I just do want to understand this process. Is it a purely forecasting exercise, or is it a budget exercise in that when decisions are taken, those numbers are updated?
I think that's a question for Treasury on how they do the medium-term forecast, Senator. I just honestly don't know the answer to the question.
All right. Seems like something kind of finance should be aware of, or should be able to explain.
Senator, it's always been the division of responsibility that finance deals with the forward estimates period, and Treasury forecasts beyond that.
So when a decision is taken by government on a policy issue that has implications beyond the forward estimates, finance doesn't provide any information to Treasury about that post-forward estimates impact of decision.
No, we would still, so to use an example that the Minister offered on the hospitals agreement, because it's a 5-year agreement, we would be part of the costs agreement for that 5-year agreement, and that would be shared with the Treasury. But that's not the same as providing a mid-term forecast using economic parameters, because in the case of that agreement, the funding allocation has been agreed as part of the decision of government.
Sure, and I wouldn't begin to presume you could answer questions on the revenue side of things. It's obviously Treasury.
Sure.
But if you've just told me that you do provide information to Treasury of the effect of policy decisions outside the forward estimates, then you should be able to tell me what decisions have been taken that have affected the medium term. What the effective decisions taken
I guess,
is on
Senator,
the
I'm trying to be more precise than that.
Yeah.
When it relates to a specific policy decision that had a duration that was longer than the forward estimates, we would be part of the costs agreement for that. That is different than the set of factors that the Treasury would use to provide an indication of mid-term fiscal outcomes.
Yeah, so as you said, Ms. Yiannopoulos, the Health and Hospitals Agreement is for 5 years. Forward estimates is for 4 years. So if it is making a contribution to this deterioration, it could only be in the first year of the medium term, 29-30. Is that right?
I don't know, because I don't have access to their model. It's,
okay.
And like, I'm not seeking to be unhelpful. I just think these are better questions for our colleagues at Treasury.
We will definitely ask them there, but sometimes when we wait to ask Treasury, Treasury says you should have asked Finance, so I don't want to find myself in that situation.
This is Treasury's responsibility, not Finance.
Okay, let me ask it a completely different way. What is the impact on the medium term of the Health and Hospitals Agreement?
Well, we don't do the medium term.
Ms. Yiannopoulos just said that you do provide that information to Treasury. The 5th year has to be provided to Treasury. So what is the impact of the 5th year of the Health and Hospitals Agreement?
I thought you meant over 10 years.
I don't know whether one of my officers has that, because that 5th year has been agreed post my EFO, and so we normally do not disclose decisions until the next fiscal update, which will be at budget. But I don't know whether Ms. Cole has something that would tell us that. I'm just trying to recollect the nature of the media release when the National Cabinet agreed the hospitals agreement.
So, Senator,
I'll just get you to state your
I
name. And
Natasha Cole, First Assistant Secretary, Social Policy Division.
Thank you.
The agreement basically consists of, or the amount that goes into hospitals is essentially consists of 2 parts. One part is already in the forward estimates and is just increased, according to the original agreement some time ago. That part is actually specified already in our systems, and I'll just see if I can find the page number and reference for you. You can see that on page 299 of the MyEFO publication, so that's already in there. Then there was provision made at MyEFO for the agreement additionality, I guess in a sense, which is the 25 billion referred to. So the component of the 5th year is the calculation of how that 25 billion spreads over the 5 years. I don't have that specific number for the 5th year, but it is something that we could take on notice.
Thank you.
And would be normally updated at budget.
Thank you. So just to confirm, the health and hospitals agreement was provisioned for in my EFO, yes?
Yep.
Even though the agreement with the states happened after my EFO.
That's correct.
Right, so
So you will see that under the in the MyEFO book under page 294
Thank
in
you.
terms of the contingency reserve.
thank you. So the government had already decided how much they were going to give the states before the negotiations?
A provision was made.
Was it the same provision?
It's called responsible budgeting. That's what you do when you know you have a cost coming up. You make a provision for it. And
Just
then
factual-
once agreement was reached, that will be updated in the budget process.
Right, so the provision does not encapsulate what was agreed with the states, or it does?
We made a provision for the hospital agreement, and the next update will account for the deal, the agreed deal.
So there will be additional expenditure beyond what was provisioned for in my EFO?
I'm not confirming that. I'm just saying a provision was made and it will be accounted for in the budget.
Well, I don't understand the sensitivity around this. It's just a question about whether or not my EFO reflects the arrangements with the states or not.
Well, I'm just answering it as
So
you would have answered, as plenty of finance ministers have answered a whole range of these questions.
So is there going to be additional expenditure in the budget for this, or has
I'm saying the hospital agreement will be accounted for in the budget. So previously, a provision was made, so it was not fully accounted for.
Well, that's what I'm just trying to establish.
And it will
Was
be
it a complete...
fully accounted for in the budget. You will see that in the budget.
So it wasn't a complete provision in my EFO.
I'm
There
not
would be
confirming
additional...
that, Senator Patterson.
Well, why not?
What I have answered your question. We made a provision for hospitals, and the deal, as it was agreed at National Cabinet, will be reflected in the budget papers in May.
And will that require additional money, or was it fully provisioned for in
Well,
my
you
EFO?
will see that reflected in the budget papers
Why
in May.
can't you answer that question, Minister?
Because it will be reflected in the budget in May.
You've got an agreement with the states. They presumably know, the details.
You've had my answer, Senator Patterson.
Okay.
Do you know what? It's exactly the same answer that Senator Cormann gave to me for 6 years on matters relating to how you update between a MyEFO and a budget. You don't update incrementally between that window. You update in the budget where you get all the numbers.
Okay.